The first emperor after Charlemagne of the fading Carolingian Empire was Otto I, or Otto the Great of Saxony. He was crowned by Pope John VIII as the first Holy Roman Emperor in 962. He led a successful realm and transformed the Holy Roman Empire into a hegemonic state that would have reintroduced imperial unity to Europe, if not for ongoing conflicts with the papacy. During his rule, Otto signed the Privilegium Ottonianum, a document that granted the emperor authority to approve the election of religious officials, a practice also known as lay investiture. Capacity of the papacy to weaken the state became apparent during the investiture contest. It was an effort by Pope Gregory VII to regain the power to select and ensure spiritual standards of the clergy. When Emperor Henry IV challenged the Pope's policy, Gregory excommunicated with him and released the loyalty of his subjects. In the absence of an effective power, regional monarchies emerged throughout Europe, with strength seen in Norman England and Capetaine France, the descendants of the first king Hugh Capet. Aristocratic society during this time embraced and emphasized courtly behavior and chivalry, high ethical standards, and refined manners. The women of this class found these codes much to their liking and spread their values through the poems and songs of the troubadours, a class of traveling poets enthusiastically patronized by aristocratic women. Eleanor of Aquitaine, a liberal supporter of the troubadours, was one of the most celebrated women of her day. She used her influence to encourage the cultivation and refinement of good manners and romantic love. As regional states prospered, medieval Europe experienced dramatic economic growth. Advanced agricultural techniques and practices such as the watermill and the plow increased expanses of arable land, enhancing agricultural surpluses and in turn facilitating trade. These advances enabled European society to support large, organized populations. Using their superior naval ships and navigation skills, the Vikings created a lucrative trade network known as the Hanseatic League. As seen here, their trade routes extended from London to Novgorod in Russia, following through the North and Baltic Sea regions. As medieval societies flourished, the boundaries of the Christian world came into conflict with Muslim territories in Al-Andalus and Israel. Following Muslim invasion and conquest in the early 8th century, the Caliphate of Cordoba ruled much of the Iberian Peninsula. Only small Christian states resisted Muslim advances in Catalonia to the northeast and the Kingdom of Leon to the northwest. The Reconquista began from these two footholds in 1060 CE and was finally completed by 1492 with the surrender of Granada. Following the success of the first attempts of reconquest in Spain, Pope Urban coveted footholdings in the Holy Land of Jerusalem. Fought on religious grounds, this series of many wars was known as the Crusades. The word crusade derives from the Latin crux, meaning the cross, which also refers to how warriors would take up a cross when they enlisted. Urban encouraged Christian knights to take up arms and seize the Holy Land, and as an incentive promised salvation for all those who fell during the campaign. This plea urged strong support from the European people, and soon thereafter in 1096, French and Norman nobles organized the First Crusade to Palestine. In 1097 and 1098, they captured the strategic towns of Edessa and Antioch. Finally, on the 15th of July, 1099, the Muslims and Jews of Jerusalem who fought relentlessly to protect the city eventually fell to the Crusaders, who went on to massacre their civilians and places of worship. The later Crusades were mostly failures, and the Roman Catholic movement was concluded with the brutal conquest of Constantinople during the Fourth Crusade in 1204. Here they established a Roman Catholic regime which lasted until 1261. However, this ransacking left the Byzantine Empire increasingly debilitated and highly susceptible to the powerful and agitated Ottomans. Under Saladin, they regained control of Jerusalem, and under Mehmed II in 1453, they toppled the Byzantine Empire and renamed the precious city of Constantinople to its modern name, Istanbul. Despite the few years of unrest during the Crusades, this time period facilitated volumes of cultural knowledge to be transferred freely throughout the Eastern Hemisphere, benefiting the socio-economic front of most civilizations. This large-scale transfer of ideas acquainted Europeans with Islamic science, astronomy, and Indo-Arabic numerals. During the Crusades, the European market also developed a taste and demand for exotic luxury items and agricultural products, namely granulated sugar, coffee, and dates. This growing market thus forged an increased trade and market economy as a result. The Middle Ages, an awakening of European society, the rebuilding of fading empires, and the time period shaping the future of modern society.